Dear friends, I'm Shanice J, your host. Thank you so much for tuning into Love Her Will, the new voice of willpower. Today, I have a thriver here to help us navigate the discussion on a holistic approach to metastatic breast cancer. I am pleased to introduce Mrs. Sarah Thomas. Sarah is married. Hey, Sarah. Sarah is married and has three beautiful children. She was initially diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 33, and it has been a long and continuous battle since then. Sarah exercises that healing the body can be done naturally and has had success with holistic methods in addition to treatments. Sarah believes that cancer sucks, but life can be beautiful.
Yeah. Love her will, outspoken, gonna tell you how you feel. No fake news, no. Willpower gonna get you that real. Black girl power in hills, everyone's equal, that's how I feel. Black girl power in hills, everyone's equal, that's how I feel. Gotta love her will, you gotta never quit though. You gotta love her will, say that. You gotta love her will, you gotta love her will. Solid, you gotta love her will, you gotta love her will. Connect with your willpower.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for being here. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad that you agreed to do this. Your story needs to be heard, and you look beautiful today. You look lovely.
As you do. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Sarah, nearly 80% of young women diagnosed with breast cancer find their breast cancer themselves by doing a self-exam. When and how did you discover that you had breast cancer?
Actually, I discovered I had breast cancer from a shoulder injury. I have a special needs son, and he pulled my shoulder. He has some behavioral disorders. And as he pulled my shoulder, I went to get it checked out. They tried to give me steroids or muscle relaxers, and finally led to a CT scan to see what was going on. And the CT scan, through the CT scan, it was shown in the report that I had multiple lesions in my bones.
Oh my gosh.
And it was actually not even connected to the shoulder, but actually, the Flexeril, which was a muscle relaxer, made my eye blurry, or upon taking it, it made my eye blurry.
Mm-hmm.
So that led me to an eye doctor, and the eye doctor was like, we've never really seen what's behind your eye before. We can't really diagnose it. And that led to more scans. And so I was right away, stage 4 breast cancer. That was a lesion behind my eye.
Oh my gosh.
And there were multiple lesions in my bones, lesions in my liver, lesions in my reproductive organs. It was so widespread.
Wow.
That they just really, they were like, forget about your shoulder injury. There's other things going on and we need to address it really quickly.
Right.
So it was not, actually although my mammogram was abnormal because it was just the density of the tissue.
Right.
They actually thought they were not going to find breast cancer in there. It didn't look like there was cancer in there. Because I had a lesion in my lung, the first oncologist I spoke with thought it was metastatic lung cancer.
Okay.
And after the scan, I had a PET scan of my body. They noticed there was, in my left hip, that there was a lesion, and they could biopsy that quickly as opposed to my liver.
Right.
That's when they identified breast cancer cells. They were like, you have stage 4 breast cancer. And I was like, oh, okay. And,
right.
It's really disorienting when you get a diagnosis like that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, apart from the shoulder injury, I felt fine.
Wow. That just makes me, I'm tearing up now just thinking about that.
Oh,
just
don't tear up.
news. Yeah.
I just put my face on, don't tear up.
I know. Just thinking about that. You go for your shoulder exam,
Right.
and and you're thinking, oh, I just twisted, pulled a muscle, and they tell me I have breast cancer.
Yeah, it was very disorienting. And we were already like we were already a family that approached things naturally by that point. So all I kind like the way my mentality was I just need a diagnosis so I could know how to attack it.
Right.
So I
So,
always tell folks, don't be afraid of a diagnosis, because that's
right.
information
Yeah,
for you to know how to fight.
that's a good way to
If
think
you
about
keep
it.
pushing things away, pushing things off, um, it can make a situation worse.
Right.
And don't fall into the denial or the fear. And we were a holistic family. Like, we were starting on our holistic journey. We were kind of newbies, but we were in there for a while. And but I just needed to have a diagnosis so that I could know how to
Right.
go forward.
Right. Right. Wow. So you already said that, the process just made you feel disoriented. Did you have to go through a lot of treatments and like surgeries for your diagnosis?
Okay, this is where I will tell my story, and I want everybody to do their due diligence for their body.
Right.
And I did not, I was not, I was opposed to surgery.
Okay.
I was opposed to chemo and radiation.
Okay.
At stage 4, widespread as I was, chemo can really wreck somebody's body. If my immune system was already so jacked up that it was not recognizing cancer cells, chemo actually can suppress it even more, or can attack it even more, because chemo attacks any fast moving cell.
Okay.
So breast cancer or any cancer, there cells that keep replicating, and they don't know how to die. Like, most cells die after a certain lifespan, and cancer cells don't. And so, or have a difficult time dying. They have a really long life. And so chemo's really good at targeting a cancer cell, because it targets whatever cell that replicates really quickly, and that's how it targets cancer. But also, hair cells grow really quickly. That's why when people cut their hair all the time, because it grows back very fast. Nails. Now, a lot of people see the outward skin cells. That's why people get mouth sores, because you bite your tongue one day, the next day it's healed, because those cells replicate and heal really quickly. But also intestines. The cells of your intestines, they replicate really quickly. So I knew I wanted a nutritional approach, but if that was going to be successful, I needed my digestive system to be in the best shape. And I knew chemo wasn't going to necessarily do that. And it also depends on the different kind of chemo. Do your research. The research is out there, and folks don't realize the medical journals are out there. I'm not talking about somebody's, I had a friend that did this. I'm talking about actual medical journals that have resources for alternative or integrative approaches to cancer. So when I knew that I was in bad shape, and I knew I didn't want chemo. Well, I didn't want chemo at all. So in 2016, I approached it very holistically with vitamin C IVs, with an ozone IV, with ALA IVs to address my liver. I did a lot of nutritional supplements. I changed my diet. I mean, I went completely vegan and raw juicing. But I really strongly believe people think that, they add a salad to their day and they're doing something naturally. And that's just not the case. As hard as you got to go hard, and you got to hit it from all sides.
Okay.
So just a quick disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist.
Exactly.
I am just a mama trying to be here for her little kids as long as I can.
Right.
So,
again, everyone, this is just for informational, and not really informational, it's more for inspiration. Encouragement. That's the purpose of this podcast. It's not to tell you, hey, this is the way to go about it. Um, I'll just go ahead and say that I'm also diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, and I have a totally different treatment from Sarah, but she's given us just another viewpoint on to another side to looking at breast cancer, other ways to just go about your daily life. Because what you're doing, it can help with energy, fatigue. So
Oh yeah.
did you experience a lot of fatigue, or did that kind of, because you were doing it holistically, you didn't really experience too much tiredness or
So
pain?
I did not. My journey did not. Actually, I ended up having more pain as time went forward. Um, so there were, I had different confrontations
Mhm.
with different oncologists, and
Okay.
so I was so angry at one point that I dropped my oncologist, and I was looking for other ones, and two or three just were like, we're not going to touch you. I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. If you had disagreements with your doctors.
Yeah, they were just not, and I think it's a liability issue, and a lot of them are just not educated in integrative or holistic
Right.
approaches. And I wasn't really looking for that. Because I really wanted a conventional voice in my care as well.
Okay.
And my particular diagnosis was estrogen positive. And so we actually did hormonal treatments to shut down the ovaries and lower estrogen in my body, as well as holistic treatment. So I really believe in a fully integrative approach. And so I needed a conventional doctor as well to, to just see, they're experts. They really are.
Right.
And I wanted everybody's voice in my care. So during that time, that was January 2017 to about July 2017.
Okay.
I had a PET scan in December 2016. This was about 6 months after I started holistic treatments with one hormonal treatment. So from July 2016, when I was diagnosed, to December 2016, I did holistic treatments, and I got a PET scan that said a complete normalization of disease. Wow. They did not find, and my liver looked normal on the scan. And I was shocked. I mean, I knew I felt, but immediately after that, my doctor was like, okay, I need you to stop everything you're doing. And I said, well, we're hitting it. Yeah. Why stop? And so she just wasn't comfortable with my approach. And so I started doctor searching. Doctors work for you. Right. You are you're hiring your doctor. Right. And when I say hiring, they work for you, they service you. And I'm not saying that to be stank or to be
no, it's true. You have to be
self-righteous. Right. But I did a partner with this, and she did not want anything to do with what I was doing, despite the fact that I didn't do chemo or radiation, and my PET scan ended up looking normalized. Right. They used to say that I was in remission because I didn't do their treatment. And if I had given it to any other oncologist, if I had done chemo and radiation and that was the PET scan I had, they would have said I was in remission. Right. But so I still feel some kind of way about telling people I was in remission, because I want to be,
you were cured.
Yeah, it's just, I just want to have as much integrity in how I tell my story. The conventional doctors did not want to say that I was in remission because I did not complete their entire recommended therapy. But I got a normalized PET scan, and I was like, I don't want to, if it's working, I don't want to change it. Right. And so that's when I started looking for other oncologists. And they didn't, the ones that I looked in and visited, they didn't want anything to do with me. And I stopped my hormonal treatments, and I ended up having no money because these treatments are out of pocket. Okay. So I ended up having no money to do my holistic treatments. And it was about a 6-month period of no treatment at all. And I was just kind of frozen, and I felt fear. And that's when the pain started, because I wasn't treating myself. And as the pain started again, well, not again, it started, I
Mhm.
finally found the oncologist that I'm with now, and she is just wonderful.
Oh,
And I
good.
showed her the before and after scans, and I said, I did this. I just want somebody to give me a conventional voice. I'm
Right.
happy to do anything that preserves my well-being, because
Right.
I don't need to be, I don't need to be bedridden for 6 months and
Mhm.
die. Like, I'd rather
Right.
live for 6 months and die.
Exactly. Right.
So, uh, you know, she was like, I don't see why you can't be my patient. And so we started our relationship,
Oh, good.
and I did a GoFundMe, and it's still going on now, where I just never felt alone in this. And this is where I might tear up, because
Yeah.
there's just folks from so many, um, just so
Take your
many
time.
backgrounds
Yeah.
that, you know, I had people from California, from Texas, who don't know me, just heard my
Yeah.
story online. And
Wow.
they're saying, hey, I want to contribute to your GoFundMe so that you could
Right.
continue these treatments. And so that's how I was able to go forward with both,
Wow.
my integrative treatments and my conventional treatments.
And I
And
will post her
when I started
GoFundMe.
getting well again.
Right. This is wow. This is amazing. And I'm so happy that you were able to, even though I can only imagine being in fear because you're not no more hormone treatments, you don't have your holistic, and that's
Yeah.
that's scary, and you like you
Yeah.
said, it's almost like a direct correlation between fear and pain,
Oh, yes.
fear and being unhealthy. Fear
Oh,
can
yes.
fear equals stress. Stress causes issues with your body, and so that just
Causes
makes
more
sense.
inflammation, causes
Right.
imbalances. It
Hmm.
causes you to be in this fight or flight mode,
Right.
adrenal fatigue, and then your body ends up again not functioning,
Exactly.
uh, the way that it's meant to function. And that's really all these, and I say all, but it was a lot, it's intensive treatments, but they're addressing nutritional deficiencies in your body
Hmm.
so that your cells have what they need to do what they are supposed to do.
Right.
And I did start chemo last year.
Okay.
I took a test. This test is kind of controversial, but there are different forms of it where I took a blood test, and they
Hmm.
pit different chemo agents against the
Okay.
cancer cells
Yeah, I know
that
what
they
you're talking
found in my
about.
blood.
Uh-huh.
And they they identified, I want to say, about 5 or 6 chemo agents that my cells were most sensitive to.
Hmm.
And so when I approached chemo, I approached it more informed, because a lot of times folks just try one, see if it works. If it doesn't work, move on to
Yeah.
another.
Right.
And in that whole process, it's also attacking your body. So
Right.
I didn't want to do that. And so I used that test to inform how I was going to progress with chemo. But again, my oncologist is very, chemo kicked my butt.
Yeah.
I had never, for 4 years, I had never been admitted. Actually, my whole life, I'd never been admitted to the hospital.
Yeah.
After the first day of chemo, the
Yeah.
very next day, I was admitted to the hospital because of how it
Wow.
affected my body. And I'm very sensitive to a lot of medicines, not just
Wow.
chemo. And
Right.
I was able to talk with her seriously and say, I can't do this full,
Hmm.
um, the full chemo that you want me to do. I need to. So I arranged with her that I was able to do half the dose and
Okay.
one agent at a time.
At a time.
I really
Okay.
wanted to identify if I was allergic to something and you're giving me 3 or 4 agents
Right.
at
How
one
can
time,
you
I
can't.
don't know what I'm
Right.
reacting to. So I did one agent at a time. And she wanted me to be in there every 2 weeks. And I
Hmm.
said, no, I'm going to do one agent at a time every 3 to 4 weeks.
Right. I love
And
how outspoken you are.
I took control of my health.
Exactly. Yeah.
And again, it's my journey. I'm not telling everybody to do this if they're not
Right.
uncomfortable, if they are uncomfortable, rather. And I also don't want to tell somebody who feels comfortable doing chemo to
Hmm.
not do chemo, because then you're going to be stressed out, wondering if natural things work. Like,
Right.
you have to do what's good for you.
Right.
Some
Exactly.
folks, some folks, and I know a lot of hardcore natural approach people who would completely disagree with me right there. They'll
Yeah.
just be like, no, no chemo ever.
Yeah.
And I just can't. I could speak for me. I could speak for what I would do, an approach for my kids,
Hmm.
um, or I would, what I would uh, suggest for a family member.
Right.
But and I could tell my story to other people who are interested, but
Right.
I don't want to tell people what to
Yeah.
do, because everybody, the reason I have breast cancer is not the same reason you have breast cancer.
Right. Exactly.
And even though, you know, it could even be so similar in pathology, but it could
Hmm.
have been triggered from different experiences, from different
Right.
emotional states, from different stress in our lives. And we each have to address our own.
Right.
Um, saying that though, my body, like I had no genetic, uh, I had no
Oh,
genetic red
the genetic
flags.
mutations. You didn't
I had no
tested
family
negative.
history.
Okay.
Everything pointed to environmental,
Right.
um, like an environmental issue or
Right.
something. So that is where I dove into a toxin-free lifestyle,
Okay.
and I changed my diet, and I had to quit my job. My job was hyper stressful, like
Okay.
super stressful. And I was getting really tangled up and tight, and it was very emotional
Okay.
um, position. And I was getting tied in with my clients and just
Okay.
not, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Wow, that's a big move.
it was not
That's
healthy because I
yeah.
was trying to fix people.
Yeah.
And people, it's just I cannot,
Mhm.
I couldn't put those burdens on myself.
Right.
um, and so that was a lot of the steps, was that even from drinking water, what's in our food, switching to organic foods,
Right.
getting like a Berkey filter for cleaner water, and all these things help, not
Right.
because they help individually, but
Right. All
cumulatively,
together.
like
Yeah.
over time, we developed unhealthy lifestyles.
Right.
And because of all the different ways that we are, burdening our bodies
Yeah.
cumulatively.
Really.
um, but and that's how we have to
Yeah.
approach a holistic. It's not just take this one pill or take this. I had emotional things to address.
Yeah.
Um,
How did
I
you
was
take care of your mental?
I was a sexual assault. I was raped when I was younger.
Wow.
Sorry for the bigger word. I had to address that. I didn't address
Yeah.
it for 33 years. And I
Right.
had, there was just a lot of unhealthy things emotionally and spiritually
Yeah.
that I had to just finally address, to lower like that whole fight or flight,
Yeah.
stressful emotional cycle that I was in.
And I completely believe that that you have to fix your body, you got to fix your mind, you got to fix your soul. All three of those together is how you become healthy. You
Yeah.
can't just deal with one thing over here and have all this going on over here. Something as simple as was talking about stress. If you're stressed out and you're a vegan, you're doing all this holistic dieting, but you're stressed out every day, you're kind
Yeah.
of they're going to cancel each other out. You're not really
Yeah.
doing anything. You're kind of like a hamster in a wheel. You're just
Yeah.
going around and around, and you're not getting to any kind of solutions. So I love and thank you for sharing that with us. Because I know sharing things that we've been through, or our insecurities, or just trauma that we've dealt with over our life, is just difficult to talk about. And for
It
you
was
to,
for me. I did
yeah.
not. Now I'm better.
Mhm.
But before, it was something that I just thought, oh, it happened in the past. I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to look forward. And
Exactly.
positive thinking only goes so far. Sometimes you have to sit
Mhm.
and address, how do I feel about this? How can, not just suppress it, like, but address
Right.
it.
Right.
We are more than physical bodies. I
Yeah.
strongly, I'm a Christian. We are more than physical bodies. And when
Yeah.
the fear of death
Yeah.
left me, I
Yeah.
actually began to live.
Yeah.
We think that the fear of death is protective. Like, oh, I
Hmm.
don't want to die. And that's what's going to help you live.
Push
But when
yourself.
that
Yeah.
fear left, I actually felt better in my skin, and I
Yeah.
felt better in my body. I was a better mom. I was a better wife. I was able to really address my family's needs.
Hmm.
We're a homeschooling family. I mean, there's just things that
That's
I
good.
shouldn't be doing. My doctor looks at me and goes, I don't know, where do you get the strength to do this? And it's just, there are the holistic supports, but there's also the emotional component where I just have a
Right.
drive to do it more than I did before, which is weird because it was after my diagnosis. You think I
Right.
feel like that before.
Right.
So yeah, we're definitely more than physical bodies.
Yes, definitely. Wow. And I was going to ask you, did you ever feel, well, chemotherapy takes a toll on your body. How long exactly did you did you take the chemotherapy? After you talked to the doctor, I love the fact that you're like, hey, I'm not doing it this way, I'm doing it that way. How long were you on chemotherapy?
So I started with my doctor in 2017. I started chemo in 2020.
Okay. Is that
Um,
where you had your reoccurrence? Because I remember talking
yes,
to you.
2019 I had a reoccurrence.
Okay.
December 2019 it was I was very ill. Again, I had run out of money for the holistic
Mhm.
treatments,
Yeah.
and I just slowed down a lot.
Yeah.
And I allowed stress to creep in again too.
Okay.
And I got a recurrence, and but by that time I had already done that test that I was telling you about, so that
Yeah.
identified the chemo agents, so
Okay.
that we're able to slowly start chemo. Well, they hit me hard the first one, and then after that I said I'm not going to do that again. I was not able to be a mom. I was not able to be
Yeah.
what I needed to be in my household. And so we adjusted it. And for the past year, I've not had a scan that was,
Mhm.
everything's been getting better.
That's good.
So
That's
it's either
good.
been stable or better.
Okay.
And so we just continued. She's she says, I don't understand. Most of my patients
Yeah.
get worse. You're getting better. And I'm like, I'm doing a lot. Like, I'm doing a lot.
Yeah.
With my integrative doctors, I'm still on supplements. I'm still on the integrative IVs. I have a port that actually I had the port for the IVs, not really for chemo, but because I had a port, like I was able to start IV chemo, and now they moved me to a pill chemo.
Okay.
And
That's what I
so
take. So you,
yeah,
it's not as harsh on your body too, as well. You seem
that's what
like
she
it.
said. I'm still in, like, I'm waiting for it to arrive at my house. So I'm still in that
Yeah.
transition period.
Okay.
It's much lower toxicity,
Yeah, it
but
is.
because my scans have been stable,
Mhm.
she feels comfortable moving on to the pill chemo.
Okay.
And along with all the other supports that I'm doing with my integrative doctor, she's funny because she's like, whatever they tell you to do, but also do this. So she
Okay.
doesn't really like get involved in it,
Yeah,
but
that's cool.
she just sees that it's working. And so
Yeah.
she's giving me my patient choice. And that's all I want. I'm not saying, like, all doctors are bad or they have bad intentions.
Right.
I just want, my voice to be heard as a patient.
Yes. 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 And that's so important, everyone. Don't be timid. Don't be
No,
scared or feel like that you're going to be too bossy or outspoken. This is
it's
your
your
health.
life. It's your life. And
It's your life. There you go.
I had to talk to her, and she's super sweet, by the way. She's super sweet. She's super awesome.
Yeah.
I'm knocking her, but but she does have a protocol that she knows,
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, listen, I'm stage 4. And she's like, no, 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 you could do whatever you want as long as it doesn't, interfere with chemo. And I said, I'm stage
Mhm.
4. I have 3 kids. I have to do everything that I can. And
Right.
then she looked at me, she's like, well, you're right. Like, I know I'm right.
Yeah.
Like, this
Right.
is my
Yeah.
life. I have to
Right.
do what's best.
Right.
And again, do not run away. If we have an integrative, find a real integrative doctors. There are many conventional
Okay.
doctors who
Okay.
think they're integrative,
Yeah.
but they're not. They lean way more conventional. And
Right.
I tell folks, find a real integrative doctor and build your team. I had a chiropractor, I had a nutritionist, I
Okay.
had 2 integrative doctors, I had my conventional oncologist,
Okay.
I had my naturopath. Like, I had a team.
Wow.
I built my team. They didn't work
Yeah.
with each other, but
Right.
they worked for me.
Right. Did they
I shared everything with everyone
right.
of what everyone found.
Was that
Um,
through your insurance, finding the other doctors, or was it out of pocket? Oh, okay. Yeah.
pocket,
Yeah.
out of pocket. And what's wrong with our society is, you know, we value a nice house and a nice car over quality food and quality healthcare.
Right. That's true.
And you know, we're a one-car family. It was raining inside my house, and I wasn't fixing the roof because it was like, should I fix the roof or have healthcare?
Right.
I just, you know, we had friends that were roofers, dear friends of mine, and they're Amish, but they're really great friends of mine, and they're like, you know what, Sarah, we're gonna fix your roof for you. And
That's a blessing.
you know, it was just the whole community came together, and I just I'm stunned. Like every time I think, oh my gosh, God, there's this problem. Oh my gosh, I'm running out of money, or oh my gosh, something's happening. Something comes through. And the same way I try to pay it forward too. Like if I'm feeling well, I will give somebody a call. I will, you know, send a gift card, or I will write cards, or especially with 2020, we were not able to really, you know, meet with people. I'd write cards, or I try to do my part as well. But it's just, we really need each other.
We do. It takes a community. It really does. And metastatic breast cancer is unlike any other, you know, other stage. You know, you go through your treatments for a year, 2 years, and then you're done. You know, metastatic breast cancer, where it's a daily ongoing thing. There's no due date or closing date on chemotherapy. There's no closing date on us not taking our health seriously. You know, it's going to take a community because it's expensive. It's expensive to be healthy.
Even conventionally, it's expensive.
It is.
And
I have bills out of the woo-ha. You know, sometimes we don't automatically get Medicare or Medicaid or those kind of resources right away. Or some of us, our state doesn't provide that. We don't, you know, so it's just so expensive. It really is. So if you know someone who has breast cancer, who's going through, or just cancer, reach out to them, see what they need, help them, you know, especially if you have, you know, money or services to share. If you know that you're able to do a type of service that could help me, reach out to me or reach out to your friend. It really, I can say that it does. I mean, that's how I'm here today. But my friends and family have helped me as well, you know, or people that don't even know me has helped me. Like you said, people from other states reaching out to you, say, hey, I'll help you.
It was so humbling. It was so humbling. I was just like, you don't know me. And they're like, I just want, and these are some of them are other breast cancer patients.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you need to work on for yourself. And they're like, well, right now you're in need. So we're going to do that for you. And I was just so humbled. It's hard for me to receive. I like to do things for people. I don't like to be on the receiving end. And I had to learn how to be on the receiving end.
Yes, it's difficult because we don't want to feel like a burden, you know. We don't feel like I don't know. For me, it was like, I don't want to feel like a burden, or I don't want to feel needy, you know, but we need help.
Yeah. Well, my friend told me, and this changed my perspective, not that I don't have issues with that anymore. And she said, Sarah, when your kids were young, did you feel like they were a burden? Like they needed you for everything? And she's like, now it's just your family's doing that for you. Wow. Like nobody should be like, oh, okay, you're past a certain age, so we shouldn't, you know, address your needs. And I was like,
that's a good way to put it. That's a great way to put it. Wow. Okay. I never heard that before. That makes perfect sense. Wow. So what would you say, you had a long journey with this, you know, with cancer since 2016. What do you say was the most difficult part of your journey?
I guess the fear, addressing fear. But you know, I have a journal where whoever prayed for me, or whoever said, you know, I'm rooting for you, or whatever it was, I would write it in the journal. And so when fear or feeling like, you know, I'm not worthy or something would creep up, I would open and read the journal and say, you know, my chiropractor prayed for me when I shared the scan with him, and I'm like, Dr. So-and-so prayed for me here, or my friend
Yeah.
called me at this time or just those coincidences that happen where it's like, it will be a particularly difficult night full of anxiety. And then the next day, a friend will call me and said, I just feel like calling you and encouraging you. And so
Yeah.
I'd write it down. And those are just all little reminders that, God has you on his mind.
Yeah.
And he, God doesn't want us sick. And a lot of times people feel like sickness is a punishment or a consequence.
Right.
I mean, it's a consequence of a broken world. We are all broken, and people are doing really unfortunate things with our food supply, with our, with everything, with our air, with our water, with toxicities in our environment. So we're going to feel those consequences.
Right.
But it's not the ideal, and it was not the original plan. And
Mhm.
so we still have to navigate through the brokenness of this world.
Right.
But we've been given tools to overcome, and overcoming doesn't necessarily mean like physically, but we've been given tools to to progress, to push forward.
Right.
And just, the word the scriptures I read says, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to
Yeah.
prosper you and to give you a future. And again,
Right.
it doesn't mean that I'm going to overcome breast cancer and have this awesome mansion and like
Right.
5 cars or whatever. But what
Right.
does mean is, as long as my eyes opened this morning,
Mhm.
I'm not done yet. And
Exactly.
so one of the things I just, I open my eyes and go, what am I supposed to do today? And sometimes it could be as simple as mother your boys.
Yeah.
And sometimes somebody comes across your way that was having a really hard time, and I'm able to speak some encouragement into their life and tell them that God loves them, and tell them that despite what happened around them, or
Yeah.
negative people speaking into their lives, that they have, God sees them, and he has plans for a
Yeah.
future and to prosper for them.
Exactly.
So it's kind of, once I get into that negative cycle, I
Yeah.
really look for wait, hold on. That means I'm looking inward too much.
Mhm.
And I'm like, who do I need to bless?
Okay.
Who do I need to talk to encourage? And once I make that switch to serving somebody else,
Mm.
it turns off that self-pity
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah.
And it's not always successful. Like, I'm not, it's not
Right.
like that.
We're human, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But
We're-
that's one of the ways it's in my head. And
Mhm.
we are notorious for thinking whatever we're doing, it could be a business venture, where
Mhm.
we either think it's going to be super awesome and all our problems are going to be solved,
Yeah.
or it's going to be terrible, we're going to be failures. We never think that there's a moderate middle ground
Right.
where,
Right.
when I was diagnosed, I'm like, I'm just going to be in this great, like, really,
Yeah.
it was a negative fantasy. I was going to be in a gray hospital room with a gray hospital gown.
Right.
Everything was just and I'm just gonna be
This is
dying.
black
And
and
I
gray.
like,
Yeah.
and it wasn't the case. Not because
Yeah.
I'm not good. I mean, I might die tomorrow. I have no idea. But it wasn't like, there was more of a middle ground. There is still joy.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
life is bigger than cancer. And that's where I always say, cancer sucks, but life is beautiful.
Yeah.
Life is bigger than cancer.
It is.
Like the other day, like, there are these, like, my oldest is 13.
Yeah.
And there are these like young ladies walking down the street, like they're all giggling and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not ready for this. But you see
Yeah.
that's just life continuing. That's life
Right.
blossoming. And he's growing up, and I'm still here to witness that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, 5 years ago, I wasn't sure if I was gonna see my son at 13.
Yeah.
I was gonna, 5 years ago, I had a 4-year-old. And I was like, am I gonna leave my 4-year-old? But now he's 9,
Yeah.
It's just, life is bigger
Yes.
than whatever circumstance that is before us.
Yes.
And I can still celebrate that despite, all these trials that are going through.
Right.
So, like, getting those perspectives,
Mhm.
and also, there's so many people with so much worse.
Yes. It
Not
really
to
is.
say my heart and their heart are both hard,
Right.
and, maybe somebody doesn't have cancer, but, they have financial struggles, or there, whatever it is, it's
Yeah, their health
my
thing.
heart and their heart are both hard.
Yes.
And we're all doing hard together.
Right.
But life is bigger than both of
It
that.
is. You still have to find joy in the midst of the hard. You really do.
It's your strength.
It is your strength. And like you said before, you said it a while ago, that it's not magic. It's not like, okay, I look through my journal and I'm finding inspiration and all of a sudden I'm going to be happy every day. It's trial and error. You have to keep finding those positive things in life. You have to keep finding joy in life. You have to make a decision to do those things. It's not like it's just automatically, magically going to happen.
No.
Faith without works is dead. You have to put in the effort to enjoy life. It takes effort to do that. And like you said, everybody experiences hard. My heart is different, but I'm not judging you. We're at different levels of whether, at our hard, what we're dealing with. So, you get through yours the way you get through yours, but we can help each other by sharing things that helps us. And
Yes.
I like that journal idea. I'm actually going to take that little
idea. I'm
going to take that.
By accident.
Yeah.
It's not like a plan that I had, but one day when I was just trying to get through a particularly emotional day, I just looked through it and I saw all the people that was praying, and I'm like, you know what, Sarah, people are rooting for you.
Right.
And it changed my perspective.
Right. And then that helps you. Look, chemo brain is for real for me. I don't know about for you, but that helps you remember who was looking out for you and who to send a thank you card to and who to reach out back out to. So that's writing things down is magic for us, like, because I'm so forgetful. So it helps you keep track of everything. I did something similar. I used to take, my friends share with me, to take screenshots of text messages that people send to me that are very encouraging to me. And then I would go back to through my photos and see those messages. And also I have posters in my bedroom that my friends made for me during a honking horn. Well, beep, I don't know what it's called, but they drive by, beep the horn, and hold up signs. Yeah, so I put those signs on my wall and I look at those every day to try to encourage myself on those bad days. So that's you just gave great advice for that. Thank you. In addition to your journal and the GoFundMe, and what would you say out of everything has been like your biggest help during this time?
My husband.
Yeah, wonderful.
There are times where anxiety, I never suffered from it. Well, I didn't identify it as anxiety, is what I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I suffered from anxiety. But when the anxiety kicked in harder than I had ever experienced it, he was the one holding my hand. I mean, I would it'll be in the middle of the night and I just feel like running out the house. Like I don't know what, I guess it was a desire to escape. I don't know where I was going to run to. But he'd be like, okay, I'm holding your hand because you're like, whoa. And it'll be like cold and I wouldn't even want a coat. I'd just be like, I want to walk out the house. And he's like, no. But I would be like, oh my gosh, do you think this treatment working? Do you think this is working? And he's like, Sarah, why would you spend all that money if you didn't think it was working? He would always talk me down, He's like, doesn't make sense. It's not rational.
Right. So how did you discover the vitamin C infusions? I know you say you lived a healthy lifestyle prior to cancer, but how did you discover all those things? Was it just your research, or did you have a mentor or somebody?
There are documentaries on Netflix.
Okay.
There are, I have some here that I just, in case this question was asked, but there is one particular website called The Truth About Cancer. I can send you the email, and it's about, so for me, I have about 9 websites and films in my email. There's definitely more than that. Again, these are a disclaimer. These are folks who are just trying to find a natural way to, they treated themselves or their family members, and they got some success now, or a lot of success. Like Chris Beat Cancer, chrisbeatcancer.com. I think he had surgery, but he didn't do chemo and radiation, and he changed his lifestyle and changed his diet, and he had colon cancer. And I
Oh,
want to, it's been years that it
wow.
just hasn't, he didn't have a recurrence. The truth about cancer.com, there's a film called Food Matters that
Okay.
last I checked, it was on Netflix. There is a film called The C Word that's on
Okay.
Netflix. There's the Rick Simpson story, who he talks about cannabis oil on YouTube. There's a film called Stink on Netflix, and it's talking about all the different additives, even in like you buy new clothes and there are
Yeah.
chemicals in your clothes, and or you
Wow.
buy a couch. That's why, like, all my stuff in my house is secondhand. Not because I don't want new stuff, but by the time it got to me, most of those gases have aired out.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and so there's a lot of resources. And now, take when I hate to say take it with a grain of salt, but sometimes, like, I went to a practitioner once, and he was like, all you have to do is meditate and the cancer is going to be gone. And I
Oh.
was like, okay. and and I'm sure a lot of people believe that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I I'm more people will look at me and be like, crazy hippie lady, like, they doesn't believe in science.
Yeah.
I'm actually more scientific minded than that. So it
Yeah.
didn't ring with me to just meditate or to just pray. I went to a church
Yeah.
that was, we laid hands on you and you are healed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know God wants healing for me.
Right.
I just also know that God can use medicine as
Mm-hmm.
well, or
Right.
God can use supplements as well. So you just have to kind of balance
Yeah.
the things that you're reading. And for me, I just don't believe in one thing. I
Right.
don't think, I'm gonna just have, what vitamin C only,
Mhm.
and that's gonna fix all my problems. I do
Right.
believe in getting it from all sides, and that's why I say get a real integrative doctor.
Right.
I have a naturopath too, and I have a chiropractor, and I have a nutritionist, and they're not MDs, but I also I have my primary care physician who's a
Yeah.
DO, and I get people who listen to me, people who
Yeah.
are along the same like approaches as me, who support me, but also people who completely disagree with me, like my oncologist, who's like, I'll
Yeah.
let you have your patient choice, but I don't I don't get how you're doing what you're doing. But she has an expertise that I also need. So I
Yeah.
really feel that we really need to hit it truly integratively from
Right.
all viewpoints.
Yeah.
And if these two approaches were to come together, I think folks would be a lot more successful. There's
Yeah.
no reason why they gave me 3 to 6 months in 2016. I'm
Wow.
approaching a 5-year survival date.
Wow. That's
You
a
know,
blessing.
there's just no reason. I don't understand, other
Right.
than initially I didn't go through chemo and radiation initially. So for 4 months, I did just super intensive
Yeah.
body boosting stuff.
Okay.
But it depends on your grade. It depends on how fast the cancer is moving. I
Mhm.
mean, if
That's a
one
lot of
week
factors.
you have a lump here, and the next week it's this big, go into surgery. Like, I'm
Right.
not telling you, like, don't do that.
Don't sit here and meditate and think it's gonna go away. Like,
Right. Like, no, we need, and don't be
right.
afraid. Don't be afraid. And the fear, identify where the fear is coming from. For me, it wasn't, I thought I was afraid of conventional medicine, but I was
Yeah.
just afraid of suffering,
Yeah. Me
and I
too.
was afraid of death.
Yeah. Me too.
That's what it was for me. And when I identified the fear, and I said, oh, no, 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 you're not going to rule my life. I'm
Yeah.
going to go to my doctor's appointment, and they're going to give me their best
Right.
care that they can.
Yeah.
And you know what? For everyone on this earth, there's one ticket out, and that's through death.
Right.
It's just not, we can try to keep ourselves as healthy as we can
Right.
but we just can't be driven by fear. And so
Exactly.
once I identified that, I had a better relationship with all my practitioners, and so the fear is really, like, I mean, I'm not saying I want to die. I
Right.
just say the fear is gone, and I can really live and make better decisions because I'm
Exactly.
not driven by fear. But
Right.
those websites, those films give you more um, information on how your body works. The
Hmm.
other thing, learning about
Yes.
a tumor, I felt some kind of way about my breast. I was like, I thought we were friends. What's,
Right.
like, what did you go against me? But what ended up happening is, as I learned about cancer,
Hmm.
there are a couple thousand million billion cancer cells. They're replicating. And your body goes, wait, you're not dying. I'm going to send a whole bunch of other healthy cells to
Okay.
corral you
Mm.
and to keep you in this area alone. And that's
Okay.
what a tumor is. So the tumor is actually your body's
Okay.
response to cancer cells. And I felt some kind of way about my tumor, but honestly, the tumor was keeping the cancer cell,
Yeah.
like limiting
Limited in that
its,
spot. Yeah.
in that spot. And of course, our immune system, if it's already lowered, the function is lowered, it could only kind of hold it off for a while, and then it'll start spreading. But again, those tumors are just our body's response to try to corral these rogue cells. And when I started understanding cancer, I was like, oh, like honestly, the when you see a lesion in your body, it's been in
Yeah.
your body for like 5 to 7 years. That
Oh,
means for 5 to 7 years, your
wow.
body's been fighting for you, and you just didn't
Yeah.
know that.
You just didn't
And
know it.
so I became friends with my body. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? Thank you
Yeah.
for keeping this like a little bit more contained than I ever.
Right.
Now we're gonna kick butt, but thank you for
Yeah. And what you said was, so we got to make sure that we're getting rid of our fear. And also, we have to educate ourselves. And with
absolutely.
education, we have to have understanding. So get rid of that fear, educate yourself on what's going on with your body, know your condition, you know, ask questions at your appointments. Get a little journal and
Yes,
make sure you have your questions written down so you don't forget, right? Or record your session with your doctor to remember
that's
what they
helpful.
said,
I
you
didn't have
know?
questions at first. I always hit the record button,
Yeah, that's
because then
good.
I would replay it, and then I'm like, wait, what did that mean?
Right.
And then, I would Google
Mm.
terms in my scans to
Yeah,
try to get a better understanding.
yeah, I did
If
that too.
your doctor's human, your doctor's a human being just like you.
Yeah,
There's a narrative over here that just tells you that, the doctors are the experts and you're not, so you should just shut up and listen to your doctor.
yeah,
My doctor was not always the expert. My doctor learned,
yeah,
so I can too.
yeah,
And we can't just say, take the leash or take the wheel, and I'm just going to lay back and do whatever you want
right.
to do. We have
Yeah,
to engage and be part of it. Now, if that's what you want to do and that's best for you, like, I'm not telling anybody what they should do.
right.
But for me, I mean, my son had open heart surgery.
Mm.
I watched
Wow.
how many open heart surgeries when they
Yeah,
came in to like give us updates. I would ask questions, and they're like, to the point where finally the doctor was like, are you in healthcare? Are you in?
right.
And I was like, no,
I love
you're
when
not
they
gonna
say
touch my
that because,
son
yeah,
if I don't know what you're doing to him. Like,
right.
I can't do that. Like, I just needed to know what was going on.
Yeah,
And so, just be part of your plan as well. And there were times where I was like, I cannot study one more thing, where I just was like, for the next 3
just
months, I'm just not
overwhelmed.
even
Yeah,
open something. But I always got back on,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And
Wow.
the dietary also I know a lot of people who will disagree with me on this.
Hmm.
Yes, I changed my lifestyle. I became a vegan, raw foods, juicing.
Hmm.
That's hard to sustain. And I fell off the wagon many times.
Yeah,
Just get back on. It's not
exactly.
like, okay, oh, I fell off the wagon on Thursday. I'm done. I'm a
Right.
failed.
I'm done. I'm gonna die. It's over.
No,
No.
you fell off Thursday.
Yeah.
You had pizza on Thursday. You had ice cream on Friday.
Yeah.
You had hot dog on Saturday.
Just get back
And
on.
Sunday,
Yeah.
just get back on.
Just
Just
get
get
back
back
on.
on and just
Yeah.
keep, and it's just, I tell folks, like, it's not going to be perfect. Like, you have to forgive yourself. You had the chicken wing. That was good. Enjoyed it. Move on now. Like,
Right.
get back on. Just don't quit. Just
Yeah.
keep moving forward.
That's good.
And so it's just keeping the goal. And it's not going to be done in a week. It's not going to
Yeah.
be done in 10 days.
Right. Exactly.
there was a session that told me in 10 days you're going to be cancer free. And I was like, I'm happy for that positivity.
Right.
And
Thank
that,
you.
but I just was like, I think it's going
yeah,
to be a more long haul
right,
for me, at least, especially at the stage that I was in.
right. And some people believe that, your belief is your medicine. If you believe that you're going to
Yeah.
be healed, then you're going to be healed. So, we're not saying don't believe that, but we're saying believe
No.
that and do work, believe
Right.
that and put action behind that,
Most definitely.
And
There's a balance. There's a balance. We have to be smart. We've been given wisdom. It's not, we can be smart about it too.
right.
We can we can address our physical needs
Mhm.
as well
Right.
as our mental needs and our emotional needs.
Right. And don't, when you're Googling, look for information to educate yourself. Don't look up traumatic stuff like how much time do I have to live? That's not what we're saying. We're saying Google terminology so you understand what your doctors are saying to you. Google the medicines, not to say, oh my God, I'm going to have all these side effects, but Google the medicine so you understand what the medicine does and and then what other drugs interact with that medicine. Like I have medicine
Exactly.
that says
My
don't
pharmacist.
eat.
My pharmacist was a great friend. She'll be like, well, should you be taking these two together? And then she'd ask a question, and then I'd be able to go to my doctor and say, hey, can we look at this?
Yeah,
and
that's good. Talk to your pharmacist. Yep, the pharmacist. Yep, the pharmacist wants you to call them and ask questions about your medicine. So talk to your pharmacist. Get a nutritionist, an integrated doctor. All these things are positive. All this information is positive, and it's going to help you. So make sure that you're looking up things that are, educational is what I'll say.
Yes.
Not detrimental, educational. Look up things that are educational to you. And then like Sarah said, if you fall off the wagon, get back on. Do not punish yourself. Give yourself, tries. Don't punish yourself. Get right back on. Like I was a vegetarian, and one day I was eating lamb, and people were like, oh my God, you don't eat that lamb. You're vegetarian. And I'm like, it's not a law. It's just a decision that I decided to do for my body. And today I just wanted to taste this lamb, just, to see what it to enjoy it. But doesn't mean that I'm going to die tomorrow because I changed my mind today about what I wanted to eat. So you're in charge of your health. You can change your mind. You can integrate holistic healing to your health plan. You can take chemo. It's not, you're in charge. Don't allow people to choose your life for yourself, for you.
Mm-hmm. Whether it's online or if it's your doctor or your in-law or I had folks that were going to have like an intervention for me because they were like, he's not doing all the conventional stuff. They were ready to get on a plane and come to my house to talk to me. And it just so happened that week I got the PET scan that said it was normalized, and they were back, and they're like, oh, maybe timing. And I mean, it was out of love, it wasn't like because there's a lot of people who are just in denial, who just are scared, and they didn't want me to just freak out and be scared and not do anything. But they didn't realize that I was doing something. I was just choosing my healthcare. I just wasn't doing everything that they wanted me to do, but I was still, I saw the value of the hormonal, it was Lupron injections. I saw the value of that because in the pathology, it was like something like 92% estrogen. So I was like, okay, I'm going to address that, so it was, but they also wanted to give me a medicine for HER2. Mm-hmm. But my pathology didn't identify HER2. So why am I going to take that? And so it was, you just have to know what's going on. Those who don't know those terms, there are different ways that cancer grows. HER2 is a protein, I believe, and estrogen positive is the hormone. And my particular cancer diagnosis was hormone positive, and so it was growing because there was a lot of estrogen in my body. So I was happy to address that conventionally, but I also addressed it holistically, and I also addressed mineral imbalances. I addressed allergies that I didn't know I had. So I took an allergy panel. I was allergic to cabbage.
Did you do that through your doctors, the allergy panel? How did you do that?
Nutritionist.
Okay. Okay.
And so I did a broad range of things. And even though it doesn't address cancer specifically, my body was fighting an allergy that I didn't realize, because this particular allergy didn't give me hives or made me itch, but it did like have a lot of reactions and sensitivities in my blood where they tested it. So I took that burden off of my body by avoiding those foods.
Right.
And so just things like that, where it might not be a cancer targeting thing, but if it makes your body healthier, then it's going to help. It's going to help your body be stronger to fight.
It is. And those people that are doubtful about the holistic healing, we're not saying do that solely, but do it in addition to other things. So educate yourself about your body. Like, I love the fact that you did, that you're targeting everything about your body. Like, your body can tell you things are wrong. You might have a tumor, you might have a rash, you might have bad acne, you might have pain in your bones, you might have bloating. Those are different signs that says that something's going on. Yeah, that's going on with your body.
We should be pooping 2-3 times a day.
Yeah.
We should be, just a random rash or pimples, like out of nowhere, tells you like something hormonal might be going on.
Yeah.
I had what is it called? Oh my goodness.
Lymph nodes, lymphedema.
Lymph nodes. My lymph nodes all up and down my arm were
raised.
Like, they were raised, and this was like years ago.
Oh wow.
Now, if I knew then what I know now, I would have been like, okay, there's some blockages. We have to get lymph fluid moving.
Right.
I've done rebounding, which I learned about and I started doing, because our lymph nodes doesn't have like anything that pumps it, like the heart pumps blood through the blood vessels. So our lymph nodes could use dry brushing, rebounding when you're bouncing up and down on a rebounder, the hot and cold showers. So you take a hot bath and then you put yourself in a cold water.
And help with the lymph nodes.
It constricts those vessels and it helps the fluid flow through your body. Wow, don't sit in there. Like, it's not fun, but just that sudden temperature change. So all of these are things that can support. Now, if I knew that, I would have started applying these way longer. They probably wouldn't have diagnosed me with breast cancer back then, but I started, migraines or headaches. Yeah. People would say, oh, perfumes that we use. And like, every time I have this perfume, I kind of feel nauseous, but it goes away. And it's like, probably should stop, because it's cumulative. The more we burden our bodies, the more it just stops working as well for us. Exactly. But it could take a good beating before we get a diagnosis.
Right. It is. It really is. It's so much. I know it's a lot. I had to take a deep breath. It can be overwhelming. It really can. We're not saying this is easy. It may sound like we have it. We look pretty. We got it all together. We look like we're put together. This is just today, This is just today. You should have seen me last week. So it's
morning.
Right, or this morning, right. It's an ongoing job. I'll say that. It is a job.
It feels like a full job.
Yeah. It's challenging, it's difficult, it's a job, but you can do it. You want to live a long, healthy life.
There's nothing special about me.
Right.
I'm a mom, I'm a teacher. Like, they're like,
if Sarah can do it,
stuff, but I had to address my medical stuff.
Right.
And
if Sarah can do it, you can do it. Right. Exactly. And we're not doctors. Just putting that out there again. We're not doctors, and we're not saying do this, do that, and we're not telling you to not do anything pertaining to we're not giving you any kind of medical advice. This is just daily life.
It's our journey.
What works for us. and we're sharing with you because it could help you. Sarah, define the meaning of willpower to you? And when was the moment you would say that willpower activated in your life?
I really thought about that question. You gave it to me before we talked. And
What would you say?
when I realized God is for me, and because it wasn't of my own, he's for me more than I'm for myself. And he, just to know, like, to really realize that God loves me.
Yeah.
And it was hard because I think I let a lot of people negatively speak to me and speak into my life. And these are not people that I saw every day. It was like that one or two occasions where, folks are just like, I'm just gonna be raw. People are like, just, you're a goody two shoes. You're just, whatever. Like, they're just negative talk and how awful I am as a human being. And, and I was just like, wow, something's wrong with me. Like, I actually internalized it. Yeah. And I had a group of friends who are so loving. And they said, Sarah, who's against you? And I literally, I named two people, and they're like, who's for you? You have a GoFundMe that raised $10,000 from people who didn't even know you. And you're like zoning in on one or two negative voices and things like that. And I'm like, okay. And I had needed a lot of healing from and letting go of what folks were speaking negatively into. And then when I started reading the word, and God is for me, and he, you know what? He's for them too. Even though they were speaking negatively to me, he's for them too. And to know that he loves me and has a plan and a future and wants to prosper me, that made me want to, it just puts wind in my sails. And so my willpower was not from just my own. It was just, God's given me gifts. He's given me 3 boys. He's given me an awesome husband. He's, and I'm like, I can fight for them. It's okay to fight for them. It's okay to be my own advocate and try to, not because I'm making myself live, but in my voice, when I'm talking about the different treatments that I would like to, with my doctors, it was able to give myself permission to fight for me, because I know God was for me. So so the willpower was not for me. It wasn't for me.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, and I'm a Christian myself. Without God, this wouldn't be possible.
I don't know how.
It's no longer ourself. Like you said, God takes over us during our weakest times, our weakest moments. And he just takes over, and he speaks for us, and he helps us maneuver through life.
He's my strength. I can't imagine.
Right.
I can't imagine facing that diagnosis without the hope that God gave me.
Right. Yeah. What advice would you give someone? I'm adding this on there. That's the last question. What's some advice that you would give to a fellow survivor? We've talked about so much today, so many positive things, but at the end of the day, we know cancer sucks and life is joyful. But what would be one thing that just a little tip that you give someone that could help them?
Just kind of what we were saying, educate yourself on your particular diagnosis. Don't be afraid to be your own advocate. And if you don't jive with a doctor, that's okay. And it's like, and it's, don't take it personally. Like, that's what they know, and that's how they fight their battles. And if it doesn't mesh with yours, just look for somebody else. While still keeping treatments, though. Don't do what I did, where I took like 6 months of no treatments. If I knew better and wasn't trying to just hide, I would have continued the relationship with them while I was looking. And enjoy the little moments, because 2020 was hard. I lost a very close, very dear friend of mine. She was to coronavirus, and she was super healthy. Well, she wasn't super healthy, but nobody would thought that she would
Right.
pass away.
Right.
And it was really disorienting because, I'm the one terminally ill, right?
Yeah.
I should have died before you. And it gave a weird sense of survivor's guilt to me. And it just really showed me that, gosh, life is greater than cancer.
Yeah.
I am diagnosed with cancer, but I could die from a car accident, like,
Right.
and when my doctor was telling me, like, you got 3 to 6 months, you have 3 to 6 months. And he kept repeating that over and over again. And I looked at him and I said, what would you think if I walked out of this hospital and I got hit by a bus today?
Right.
And he looked at me like, are you suicidal? Like, he was just like, where are you going with this?
Yeah.
And I said, doctor, I would have said that I had 3 to 6 hours and not 3 to 6 months. That information of when you're going to die is not disclosed to anyone at all. So live in the present. That's all we have. That is all we have. And so I, a lot of times where I'm looking at my kids and they're being goofy or they're, and I'm just like, I'm able to, or they're annoying me and I'm irritated. And I'm like, well, bless God that I'm here to be irritated.
Right.
I could not be here and not be irritated.
Right.
But just living in the moment and knowing, like, what do I have to do today? After you juiced, after you took them pills, after you did all the supplements, after you did everything that you could do for cancer, let it go. Yeah. Because worrying is not going to help. Yeah. So after I did the IVs, if I could do the IVs, if I could do a supplement, if I could do whatever the things that I need to do to help me stay the best I can, after all those things are checked off for the day, live. Yeah. Do everything else that you can do. Right. And so just that's the best that I've got so far for myself.
That's amazing. That's amazing advice. It really is. And it's advice that could save a life.
Yeah. Save mine.
Yeah, it really is. I really appreciate you being here, Sarah, sharing your story, being vulnerable with us, being inspired, just inspirational. I just really appreciate you. You're such a sweet spirit. And
thank you for having me. I'm telling you, I don't answer anything. I don't answer Instagram messages at all. And for some reason,
God led you to me.
And I was like, this lady's awesome. And then I got into your YouTube and I was like, you're just shining. You just have this light. I was just like, wow. And am I really like answering somebody from the World Wide Web? Like, really? So it's just been such a joy to talk with you. The few times
it really has.
I'm just happy to partner up with you in this fight we're doing together.
Thank you. I'm just happy I have a new sister to go through this battle with me together. So I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Talk with me. If I could help, I will help. If I don't know, I will try to point to somebody who does.
Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this message. I hope you're now encouraged. And I hope that we inspired you today to be fearless, to be courageous, and just to love life and love yourself. Share this, like it, comment, ask us any questions that you want to. I'll probably do it live if we have questions in the comment box. And be blessed, be encouraged.
Yes.
Love her will. Bye-bye.
All right, some books that helped me on my cancer journey. The first 2 books that I started with was Cancer, Think Outside the Box by Ty Bollinger. Then that led me to Cancer Killers with Dr. Charles Majors. He has since passed away, but he extended his life like 5 years from weeks to live from a stage 4 diagnosis. Those are the 2 books that really introduced me to like an integrative approach to cancer. Now, I lean more towards a metabolic approach to cancer. Dr. Naisha Winters, she herself was a stage 4 cancer, a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. There are non-toxic therapeutic strategies for starving cancer cells using nutrition and bio-individualized therapies, like what is right for your body or what's going off with your body, addressing some root issues. She also she became a naturopathic doctor as well, and a lot of doctors call her to know what to do with her patients because of just her amazing 20+ year success story. Pick this up. Now, this is my doctor's book. The only reason I didn't have this one first is that it wasn't out yet. Vital Strategies in Cancer by Dr. Jim Roach, America's Healer. And here it's just a comprehensive collection of how he approaches cancer with patients and different strategies if they're on conventional therapies as well. There are ways to combat the negative effects, but also support the anti-cancer effects of conventional medicines. So even when you're on conventional medicines, pick up some complementary and alternative approaches that gives you a stronger, favorable responses. So Vital Strategies in Cancer, Dr. Jim Roach. And now I'm going through How to Starve Cancer by Jane McClelland, and she was a physiotherapist. She herself was a cancer patient decades ago, and she used a cancer starving diet. This is from the book. Powerful supplements, old low toxicity drugs when taken together acted as had anti-cancer effects. And one of those are low dose naltrexone, which I have taken, metformin. There's a plethora of things. I could be here all day and tell you about it and not even be able to finish. So these are some great starting points. crispycancer.com was where I watched the interview of a lady that reversed a lot of her cancer prognosis in 8 months. She has since passed away. She passed 5 years of her cancer fight when she was given just a couple of months to live. crispycancer.com and thetruthaboutcancer.com are also great resources. But if I could tell you one thing, do not look for one magic pill. Hit it from all sides. What's your body doing? What's your nutritionally? What's your heavy metals? What's your what's your vitamin deficiencies or whatever it is. Look for every area where your body's not functioning its best. Try to support that. And if you choose to go conventional routes as well, that's your choice. You can also, though, combat some of those negative effects with natural supports and approaches. So that is where I would start.